Breaking news. Another shocking development in the Diddy prison saga has just emerged. Reports confirm that music mogul Diddy has been attacked again, behind bars, with an ex-inmate now coming forward to reveal disturbing details about his life in prison. The situation inside is worse than anyone could have imagined, and Diddy's time behind bars is quickly turning into a living nightmare. According to sources, the latest attack happened just days after reports surfaced that Diddy was struggling to adjust to life in prison.
Sean Diddy Combs reportedly underwent treatment in a hospital as he continues to await trial from Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, the federal prison where he was sent following his September arrest, late January 30th, to undergo an MRI and was then soon returned to police custody later that night. The outlet cites a source as saying that the medical scan was authorized because his knee was bothering him. E! News has reached out to reps for Diddy and the Federal Bureau of Prisons for comment and has not heard back. The Grammy winner's attorney, Mark Agnafilo, tells TMZ, quote, "I cannot comment on anything related to prisoner movements. Also, I'm not commenting on anything related to possible medical issues." Diddy had shared in a since-deleted Instagram post in 2017 that he had undergone his third knee surgery in a year. The Federal Bureau of Prisons has neither confirmed nor denied the reports about Diddy's hospital visit. A spokesperson for the government agency tells the New York Post, quote, "For privacy, safety, and security reasons, we do not comment on the conditions of confinement for anyone in our custody, to include medical status or medical trips." The hospital visit allegedly took place hours after federal prosecutors filed a new criminal indictment against the rap mogul. Additional charges are included in the new filing, as the original September indictment had referenced one female victim. His lawyer has accused in a statement to E! News January 30th. He says, quote, "The prosecution's theory remains flawed." The government has added the ridiculous theory that two of Mr. Combs' former girlfriends were not. Diddy has denied all of the charges against him, and his trial is set to begin.
Details about what Diddy is going through behind bars. He describes the prison as a war zone where Diddy is being targeted by inmates who are determined to make his life a living hell. The former billionaire mogul who once lived a life of luxury is now struggling just to survive. Social media is exploding with reactions to this breaking news, with hashtags like #Diddy attacked and #Justice for Diddy trending worldwide. Some fans are expressing concern, fearing for his safety, while critics claim this is the reality of prison life. The question remains, is Diddy being protected, or is he being left to fend for himself? Reports indicate that Diddy was ambushed in the prison yard during a routine break. Sources say tensions have been rising, with some inmates targeting him for his past controversies, and wealth witnesses claim Diddy was caught off guard and suffered minor injuries before guards intervened.
Breaking news right now, Larry. I am just getting word. People magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells that. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are, I guess some warden told you this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem, why there's a lot of violence there, they have housing units and they're mixing. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's gonna get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out.
However, what's more disturbing is what happened after the attack. Insiders claim Diddy has been placed in a segregated unit for his own safety, but even that may not be enough to keep him from harm. An ex-inmate has now spoken out, claiming that Diddy's time in prison is far worse than the public realizes. He describes constant harassment threats and even isolation tactics used against high-profile prisoners, according to him. Diddy thought he had connections inside, but that means nothing in prison. He's a target. Plain and simple sources inside the prison report that Diddy is mentally and emotionally breaking down under the pressure. The once powerful mogul is reportedly fearful for his life and struggling to cope with the brutal reality of incarceration. Some reports even suggest that he has requested additional security and possibly a transfer to a safer facility. Legal experts are now weighing in on what this could mean for Diddy's case with the ongoing legal battles. His legal team may push for special protections, or even a transfer to another facility.
Him inside, it was still that standard issued MDC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. From that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him. He appeared grayer a little bit as well too, but again, he appeared just like how you would expect Diddy to appear for a hearing. He, when he came inside the courtroom, he hugged his attorneys. He especially hugged Anthony Rico. Then he had hugged Alexandra Shapiro as well too. But then he kept kind of looking at the gallery. Now again, this was at a point where Diddy's sons, Justin and Christian, weren't inside the courtroom just yet, but instead, whenever they came inside the courtroom, and again, this was after Diddy was already sitting down at the defense table, he looked back immediately, he smiled, he beamed up, he waved at at his two sons, and just kind of gave them kind of a little bit of, it's a good to see you type of feeling. That's what I was gathering from inside that courtroom. Now, again, I want to remind our viewers that when we're inside federal court, again, there's no cameras, which, Jesse, I'm sure you have already mentioned that part. But, even for us journalists, with the exception of some who get a special permission of that, we just are relying on a notebook, a notepad, a pen, a pencil in order to kind of take notes to see what is all going on. I can't even take my Apple Watch inside that courtroom. Whenever there's a hearing, I have to turn that in. I have to turn my laptop in. Of course, I have to turn my phone in. So we're kind of just eye watching everything that's going on. Now, when Christian and Justin came inside that courtroom, they were actually sitting just right across from me over on the left side of the gallery. So what I was seeing from both of his sons was a little bit of leg shaking, what I perceived to be a little prayer right before the hearing had actually
his downfall with tensions. Rising many are wondering what's next for the embattled music icon. Will the prison system intervene before it's too late, or will Diddy continue to face violence and danger behind bars? And what about his ongoing legal battles? Could this latest incident impact the outcome of his case? One thing is for sure, this story is far from over. As more details emerge, we'll continue to keep you updated on this shocking saga. So what do you think? Is Diddy being unfairly targeted, or is this just part of life? Behind bars, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on all the latest breaking news as the days go by. More shocking details continue to emerge. Reports suggest that Diddy's legal team is fighting for emergency intervention, citing the increasing danger he faces daily.
Mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs spent his first night behind bars inside a facility that is being called Hell on Earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? And numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody. He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes, except for his mother, daughters, and the mothers of his children if he is released. They told the judge the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, in an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing? How's your dad doing?
Family members appeared somber as they arrived at federal court in Manhattan today in another attempt to get out on bail. The judge cited Diddy's history of violent temper and potential intimidation of witnesses as reasons for keeping him behind bars. Diddy's former protege, singer Aubrey O'Day, is celebrating Diddy's downfall,
making his prison stay a nightmare. The prison system, however, remains largely silent on the matter, offering minimal protection. Could this lead to legal action against the facility for negligence? Legal experts suggest that if Diddy's team can prove he is being left vulnerable, they could push for a lawsuit demanding safer conditions or a transfer. And while insiders reveal that Diddy has resorted to keeping a low profile, avoiding confrontation whenever possible, but with tension so high, avoiding trouble might not be enough. Prison politics are ruthless, and some inmates see him as nothing more than a high-profile target to make a statement. According to insider sources, Diddy was involved in a violent altercation with another inmate earlier this week, marking the second time he's been targeted since his incarceration. The incident reportedly left him with minor injuries, but the emotional toll is said to be far more severe.
Leaves the Metropolitan Detention Center jail in Brooklyn. New reports say he was taken to the hospital for a few hours last week to get an MRI. We're just now learning about this though because Diddy was taken from the jail late at night, actually using the cover of darkness to keep his trip on the down low. So what do we know about this trip? We're going to go through everything we know so far, plus a little more. We're actually going to sit down with Dr. D. Wayne Hendricks, a former corrections officer and deputy warden at MDC, the very jail Diddy's being held at right now. But before we get into all of that, here's a quick recap of how we got here. In September of last year, Diddy was indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Those charges came down after multiple civil suits against Diddy were already filed, accusing him of facilitating a decades-long sex trafficking ring. Post-arrest, the civil lawsuits just keep on coming. Right now, we're actually at more than 40 filed against Diddy. There's an eerie pattern shown throughout all of these civil suits and the criminal one too, that Diddy or his associates would drug the victims, rape them as part of what he called freak-offs, and recorded it. He then used that recording as blackmail to force the survivors to keep quiet. But let's just keep in mind, all of this is alleged at this point. Diddy has already pleaded not guilty to his federal charges. But just last week, we actually got some new info about those charges in a superseding indictment. To start with the very basics, the feds now say Diddy's alleged sex trafficking
the same facility has come forward with shocking revelations about Diddy's life. In prison, the ex-inmate who wishes to remain anonymous describes Diddy's experience as a living nightmare, claiming that he's been isolated, harassed, and constantly on edge. Social media has exploded with reactions to the news with hashtag #Diddy attacked and #Justice for Diddy trending worldwide. Fans of the music mogul are expressing outrage and concern, calling for better protection for Diddy. While he's behind bars, many are questioning how someone as high profile as Diddy could be left so vulnerable in prison. At the same time, critics are pointing to the situation as a stark reminder of the consequences of his alleged actions, with some saying he's reaping what he sowed. Let's take a closer look at how this story unfolds. Diddy, whose real name is Shah, was arrested and charged earlier this year, following a series of allegations that have rocked the music industry.
I think a fair argument would be that is probably Cassandra Ventura. So when there is a discussion of turning over evidence regarding victim one, potentially Cassandra Ventura, and exculpatory evidence regarding victim one, I have to wonder if this relates back to the argument presented by the defense over the past several months that there is no evidence that victim one is a victim of sex trafficking, rather that she and Combs had this consensual, years-long, toxic, violent relationship. And when you look at the 2016 video that I mentioned before, the defense would say this is not evidence that he was sex trafficking her, but this was just a very unfortunate, disturbing domestic spat. Now, the prosecutors have asserted that there was a sex worker in that hotel room that she was allegedly escaping from, and so this is a prime example of sex trafficking. But going back to what this exculpatory information might be regarding victim one, Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, seemed to confirm that in this hearing, this might be what's going on, because he apparently said to the judge, if what happened in Mr. Combs' bedroom was found to be entirely personal, we'd view that as subject to Brady. Now, to be clear, we don't know exactly what exculpatory Brady material is being referred to, but I think a fair assessment would be if they're trying to say that everything was consensual, maybe toxic but consensual between Cassandra Ventura or victim one and Sean Combs, that's exculpatory. Okay, moving on. Also in this hearing, there was an important discussion about a superseding indictment. You see, it's been reported that the prosecutors here have been presenting evidence to a grand jury and that this investigation is ongoing.
The charges range from workplace harassment to more serious claims of abuse, and the case has been one of the most closely watched legal battles in recent memory. Diddy has consistently denied the allegations, calling them false and defamatory, but his life in prison has become a focal point of the ongoing drama. The former inmate who spoke exclusively to insert media outlet revealed chilling details about Diddy's daily struggles, according to the source. Diddy has been targeted by other inmates who see him as a high-profile trophy ex-inmate, claims that Diddy is constantly looking over his shoulder, fearing for, his safety. It's hell in there. The sources said he's not built for this kind of environment. He's scared, isolated, and just trying to survive, the source also revealed that Diddy has been placed in protective custody, but even that hasn't shielded him from threats and harassment. Friends and associates of Diddy have been quick to express their concern, calling the situation unacceptable and inhumane.
Two more women that the feds are calling victims of Diddy and his criminal operation, as they've laid it out in this indictment. Remember, before, all they had was victim one, and we know through things that have been said in court and that are connecting victim one to the videotaped beating of Cassie. So we know that victim one is Cassie. Victims 2 and 3, who have now been added in this new document, we don't know their identities, but the feds have described them, saying that they are women that he transported, that Diddy transported for purposes of prostituting them. And they lay out some of the allegations and why they believe that these women are victims. Diddy is telling a different story, has a different view of this, but first, what they said in the indictment, we want to get to that.
Yeah, this is really a critical development because Diddy's lawyer has been harping on this case being built entirely around Cassie, who he had a relationship with, and he says the nature of that relationship may have been rocky, but it's not a crime. By adding these two additional women, the feds are sort of bolstering their case, and they're saying these women were also lured and trafficked for prostitution, and he says they were paid by being paid in career opportunities, they were paid in money, and they were paid in maybe their housing expenses and rent being paid, which Diddy is characterizing as, yeah, this is what I do for my girlfriends. So girlfriends being paid their housing expenses is not a crime either.
Yeah, so they haven't revealed their identities, but certainly when they describe it like that he's done all these things for them, paid for these things, it sounds like it will be that one or both of them might be someone that we know, that we've seen him out with.
They argue that Diddy, despite the allegations against him, deserves to be treated with basic human dignity. However, others close to the case suggest that Diddy's struggle in prison are a direct result of his alleged actions and the notoriety surrounding his case. Legal experts weigh in, suggesting that the attacks could have a significant impact on Diddy's mental health and even influence the outcome of his legal battle. This isn't just a story about Diddy, it's about the broader issues of safety and accountability. Within the prison system, the leaked details have sparked important conversations about how high-profile inmates are treated and whether the system is equipped to protect them. Some are calling for reforms to ensure that all prisoners, regardless of their status, are kept safe from harm. Others argue that Diddy's situation is a consequence of his alleged actions, and that he must face the realities of prison life. The question remains, can Diddy survive this ordeal, or will things continue to spiral out of control? Well,
surprised because, asking for sanctions is a pretty aggressive move. And so to turn around and withdraw that motion is a notable retreat from that move. So I wasn't expecting it. And the question is, why did they do it? And I would assume that's what we're going to talk about.
Definitely. And I, also want to ask, this letter said they want to withdraw it without prejudice. Why is that part important?
Well, without prejudice just means they could bring it again. So you can either withdraw a motion with prejudice, which means it's resolved and we can't bring it again, or without prejudice, which means the court doesn't have to deal with this now, but we're not waiving our rights. We're going to save the right to bring the motion again at a later time.
And, as you just mentioned before, we're going to get into, why was this move even done in the first place? Now, Jay-Z's lawyer was previously scolded by that same judge for using inflammatory language against Tony Buzbee. But do you think that this is a part of a new strategy not to be harsh on the Jane Doe lawyer, instead hope to just get this suit dismissed instead?
Possibly. So that first thing you mentioned about the judge's reaction, I have three theories about why this was withdrawn. And the first one is exactly what you said. The judge has already indicated on the record that she's not thrilled with the way the attorneys are going at each other in this. And no judge is. No judge wants to make a case about conflict between the lawyers. Lawyers end up skirmishing all the time. They don't like each other all the time. They accuse each other of bad stuff all the time. And no judge wants the case to be about that. The judge wants the case to be about the merits.
While his lawyers scramble to gain legal protections, fans and supporters are demanding action. But in the harsh reality of prison influence means little. When survival is at stake, more reports are surfacing, indicating that Diddy's mental state is deteriorating. Insiders say he has stopped socializing, barely eats, and spends most of his time in isolation. Prison life has taken a toll on his once powerful persona, and he is now a shadow of the mogul he once was. Speculations continue to swirl that Diddy's allies in the industry may step in to push for an early release, but given the severity of the accusations against him, such a move would be highly controversial. Could political or industry pressure change his fate? New footage allegedly captured inside the prison has also started circulating online, showing what some claim to be Diddy being harassed by other inmates. If verified, this could become a major turning point in his case.
Taken from victim one's device, not Sean Combs. So the idea that he kept these videos as collateral or blackmail as a form of power and control over victim one doesn't hold water. And basically they asked the court to amend the protective order that has been put in place in this case to allow the prosecutors to turn these tapes over to the defense. This was an order from the court that dictated how information would be disclosed and shared and disseminated by the defense and prosecution. And as the defense called out in their letter to the judge, the protective order made this video evidence, again, allegedly of the freak-offs, quote, available for inspection only and not electronically produced. They said, court, you need to amend this. We need to preserve the tapes. And they also argued, by the way, that we need these videos, we need copies of these, because they said that the audio on the tapes can barely hear it. And the lighting is very bad, that the images are dark and grainy. So we need our own experts, our own defense experts, to enhance the quality and analyze the metadata. So now, back to Judge Arun Subramanian's order that came down yesterday. What did he decide? Well, Judge Subramanian denied the defense's motion to amend the protective order, but without prejudice, meaning this issue could be revisited. So Subramanian's order reads, quote, while the government objects to handing the videos over, they provide several options for a defendant to consider that would permit the defense to view the videos, access the information they're looking for, and even allow them to manipulate the videos as they see fit. To the extent these options are insufficient, the defense may propose other options to the government. It doesn't appear that the defense did this before raising the issue with the court. The parties should have these discussions, and if they really reach an impasse, the defense can come back to the court. And if that happens, they should be prepared to clearly articulate
Could this
why
footage
they
serve as
need
evidence of
possession
neglect and
of the
abuse
videos
within the prison
despite
system
the
as the case
options
continues to unfold? One question looms large. What's next for Diddy? Will the attacks and harsh conditions behind bars break him, or will he find a way to endure? And how will this ongoing nightmare impact his legal case and public image? For now, all eyes are on the prison system and the legal proceedings as the world waits To see how this story will unfold as the situation develops, the media is covering every twist and turn, with fans divided between supporting Diddy or believing. This is justice being served. Stay tuned for more updates as we continue to follow this explosive story. We'll see you in the next video.